This is Morning Motivation for Educators on the Bee Podcast Network. Learn about all the shows at beepodcastnetwork.com. You'll hear from a variety of formal and informal educators who help put this podcast together. If you'd like to contribute your voice to this show, please go to morningmotivationedu.com to apply.
Welcome to Morning Motivation for Educators. I'm Danielle Nuhfer, a former teacher who knows firsthand how exhausting and overwhelming this work can be. After 20 years in the classroom and 2 bouts of burnout, I found tools to help teachers not just survive, but thrive. TeachingWell was created to help educators like you manage stress, find balance, and reconnect with the passion that brought you to teaching. This podcast is your space to breathe, reflect, and take those small steps toward feeling more grounded and fulfilled. Your well-being is crucial to your school success, and I'm here to support you. So with that, let's begin. So we've been told that learning new things is great, that it makes you a better person, that it can never be taken away from you. But how do you do that when everything looks important and our phones and world all want us to learn about them? Probably in order to sell us something. So how do we learn new things in this context, in this environment, in this culture? So some informal ways that I learn new things, and I would recommend to all of you, is to listen to podcasts. This is the top way I learn new things. I started finding podcasts on topics I was interested in and then subscribed to a few. I'll be honest, I started listening to podcasts since before I got a smartphone in 2014. Literally, the first ones I listened to were yoga classes and mindfulness talks, probably in 2010, 2011. I would download them on iTunes and listen to them on my computer. When I finally got a smartphone, I found my podcast app that I still have. I use Podcast Addict because I've always used it. I know there are probably better ones, but my feed is curated. I know what days of the week my favorite podcasts are delivered, and I look forward to downloading them on my morning run or walk or drive to work. I subscribe to a wide variety of things, and I really kind of see this as a replacement for my social media feed. It's all me. No algorithm created, just my recently released tab. However, I don't have control over when they decide to drop another episode, only that I'm subscribed. And then in the morning, I see who updated their podcast and who did not, and then I favorite things or I put them into my playlist, and then I'm ready to go. This has taken time, and it has really been a gradual process. I also subscribe to a few podcasts with challenging perspectives because even seeing the titles are helpful to know what other people are creating content about and finding important in the world today. I keep a notes app on my phone and take notes on things that I find interesting or want to learn even more about later. Podcasts can be long or short. This podcast, Morning Motivation for Educators, is only about 5 minutes long, while some podcasts can be upwards of 3. So podcasts are what often lead to my next way to learn. Books, books, books. I read and I listen, and then I write notes. And then I try to relate it to me and find connections. With so many books, where do I get the recommendations? Well, oftentimes they are from the podcasts I'm listening to. If there's an interview podcast, sometimes I will get the book of the person who is being interviewed, and sometimes I will get book recommendations from the podcast host. I'm a library advocate, so I will often take books out digitally or get them requested from the library. I don't advocate buying a book right away or even at all, but a library is a great way to learn about the things you might want to learn about. So support your library when you can, and then buy the book if you feel you must have it. Audiobooks. I love audiobooks, but I have to be honest, I love podcasts more. So there aren't often times that I will reach for these as a way to learn as much. However, I am one who thinks listening to books counts as reading them. So if you really love listening to books, this is a great replacement for podcasts or in addition to podcasts. And this is a great way to support libraries because they oftentimes have books available digitally that they do not, or in audio form, that they do not have in ebook form or in paper copy. Newsletters. Newsletters are increasing in popularity, both in your email feed and on Substack. Newsletters are emerging as a way for creators and consumers to stop being bombarded with content overload and actually get information from trusted people who they want to hear from in a more curated fashion. Some of my favorite content comes in the form of a weekly newsletter. Slowly, my email is feeling a little bit more like my podcast feed, full of useful information that is not thrown at me in an icky kind of way. I can choose when to read or not, and I can choose what to subscribe to and unsubscribe from, depending on how much I want to hear about the content. So those were informal ways to learn new things. And now are some formal ways. If you want to learn new things and it can be somewhat job related, perhaps you can find creative ways to get it paid for. If you want to learn something new and it remotely has to do with your work, see if there's a way to get it paid for. If you love nature, could you talk outdoor education classes as an education teacher? Or as an English teacher? I don't know, but I could make the argument that you could definitely use the material from outdoor education to make your students better writers. Be creative. See what your school will compensate you for. Or see if you can get professional hours toward requirements if you take a course or pursue a certification or do some work during the school year, and then have specific goals around it. I was able to get all my graduate level course paid for and go on a sabbatical while teaching. It was generous, but it was also something that I had to put time and energy into, but it's completely doable. The sabbatical absolutely changed my life, and what I learned both in and out of the classroom can never be taken away from me, and I am a better teacher and human being because of it. So I would encourage everyone, find ways to weave both informal and formal learning into your life. You don't have to do all of the things all of the time. There may be certain seasons where informal is exactly where you need to be. But then there are other times where formal learning can really be so empowering to the next phases of where you go in life. So I encourage all of you to take those steps, to think about what you want to learn more about, because I can't tell you how much it will change the way that you show up in your classroom and in our world. And that's what we need. Thanks for joining me today. If you're ready to dive deeper into your well-being, check out my book, The Path of the Mindful Teacher, or schedule a call to connect. Find links for these and other ways we can work together in the show notes and at teachingwell.life. Remember, caring for yourself is the best way to care for your students.
Thanks for listening. And whatever role you have in education, we have a podcast for you at bpodcastnetwork.com. Who among your friends and colleagues needs to hear this message today? Please share it with them right now.